All right, let's bring Personnel Committee to order. Let it be recorded, Nicholson, Dwayne, Slotnick, Zima are present. 2, adoption of the agenda.
Move adopt.
Motion by Slotnick,
Second.
second by Zima. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 3, approval of the minutes
Move approval.
from December 7, 2015. Motion by Slotnick.
Second.
Second by Dwayne. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 4, request to fill the following replacement positions and all subsequent vacancies resulting from internal transfers. 4A, sewer, labor, public works.
Move approval. Move to approve.
Motion by Slotnick,
Second.
second by Dwayne. Under discussion.
I have a question.
All right.
Steve, this position here, are we sending somebody through one of them classes? Are we training someone for this position right now?
We are not.
Nobody's training through a program, any kind of program or anything
No,
like that?
this is a vacancy effective at the end of the workday on the 18th, which is upcoming,
Yep.
due to retirement.
Thank you. Good, yeah, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 4B, clerk 3, please.
Move approval.
Motion by Slotnick to
Second.
approve, second by Zima. Under discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 4C, word processor, please.
Move to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Dwayne to approve, second by Slotnick. Under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 5, request to fill patrol officer and firefighter vacancies in 2016 that were approved as part of the budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dwayne, second by Slotnick. Under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 6, request to reclassify the assistant fire chief position from pay grade 40 to pay grade 41, effective at the beginning of the pay period in which January 1st, 2016 occurs.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman. This is something that we did at council. We approved this during our budget meeting. And I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I could explain that. But yeah, we saved a lot of money making this change. And motion is to approve.
Motion by Dwayne to approve.
Second.
Second by Slotnick. Under discussion, Alderman Zima.
I thought we were going to have some discussion about this before we went ahead any further about looking under the steps there. It says under the proposed salary range, the assistant fire chief will place a new step schedule that provides a minimum increase of 5%. So, I mean, if you look, you see the maximums from pay grade 40 to 41 are close to $7,000. Excuse me, about $6,000. Excuse me. I thought we were going to talk about perhaps tightening that up.
Well, during our...
Somebody's $1 over and they can get a 5% increase.
I think that is some discussion that we've had, that as part of anything that we do in the future and looking at our salary schedules, that you want us to look at that, and we will. But I think
Well,
as
this
part
is the
of...
future.
What?
This is the future.
As part of this process, you asked us specifically to take a look at the job description for these positions, and that is attached. There are 2 assistant fire chief positions, and in your packets, we do have the revised job descriptions. The new duties for those positions are shown. The new duties are underlined in those descriptions. You also asked for some additional information from some other jurisdictions. We did add those jurisdictions to the salary survey. We added Wisconsin Rapids, Stevens Point, Marshfield, Sturgeon Bay, Marinette. We don't typically include those in our salary survey information, but we did include those in the survey information that we gathered for the assistant fire chief. And the reason we don't is because they are significantly smaller than the ones that we typically include. Now, we do include De Pere, which is smaller than we are, as well as Manitowoc, but they're in our immediate area. But we did include these others in here as requested, so we did add that information. So that is
Well,
included in your packet.
that part, I'm really not questioning the rest of this,
Okay.
because we did approve this as part of, we eliminated one position. right?
Correct, we did
And
eliminate
We put them all into these two positions,
correct.
and they were adjusting accordingly. But I don't know if it's appropriate, but I would, I just feel that maximum that should be is about 3%. We haven't seen inflationary days for many, many years. These policies were put in place when, I can remember when we had 10% inflation. I can remember when settlements were not 2, 3, 4%, they were 6, 7, 8%, things like that too. And the very idea of having it equal inflation was a fairly liberal idea at that time. Not well received, but I think it's fairly standard. People feel like we should stay with inflation, which I agree with. But this here is this is one of those little deals in the guts of it that push it higher than it should be. I think we're adjusting these things, and I guess that just for the sake of it, I'm going to make a motion to amend this by changing 5% to 3%. Are we going to have a discussion on it tonight?
We certainly can.
Well, I mean, we had talked about having that, but I don't see it on the agenda there. But
I guess I wasn't aware, I guess I wasn't clear then that we were going to specifically have that discussion on that part of the policy, but I did gather some information from, in terms of what others are doing, in terms of what they look at when they, in terms of someone moving from one classification to another. And what I do find is, and some of this is going to depend upon how the classifications are structured. So I think the next item on the agenda, which is going to be whether or not we're going to engage in doing a classification study and look at devising a new compensation structure. And as we do that, might answer whether or not that is something that we're going to look at in terms of our compensation policy. But what I do find is that in looking at a number of counties, in terms of what they do, is that typically they rank somewhere between 2.5% to 5% in terms of what the minimum that they're looking at when someone goes from one classification to another. So if you were looking at 3%, that would be very appropriate in terms of what I see from other jurisdictions. It's really right in the ballpark.
It places them at a step of the new schedule, provides a minimum increase of 5%. So, I mean, I think that's...
If you did it at 3%, to be honest with you, that would be very appropriate. It's right in the ballpark of what everybody else is doing. They're doing somewhere between 2.5 and 5. Some of that depends upon, I suspect, what their salary schedules look like, but typically it's in the 2.5 to 3%. Well, that would be very appropriate.
Well, I'm willing to make that motion, but I wanted to make that as a general policy. I thought we were going to discuss it as soon as possible, but hey, it's probably something that just slipped here. I'm not criticizing or anything, but do we want to put this on an agenda for a permanent thing? Or?
I think I can bring that back at the next meeting for a permanent discussion.
Well,
And
I'll say that if we don't move it to 3% at the next one, we can come back and readjust this one. But for the time being, I feel it should be 3%.
Just point of clarification, even if the policy was 3%, it wouldn't change what's being recommended here, right? Because,
Sure.
They would move to this classification. His question is, what step would they be placed on?
but I think they'd still be to get a 3% minimum, they still would be placed at step 4, is that correct?
Not
Step
necessarily.
41, or grade
They
41.
would still be in pay grade 41. I'm not sure which step they would be on. I would have to go and calculate that. They may be on step 3 or step. I'm not sure which step they would be placed on.
I see.
It'd
Okay,
be
thank
either
you.
be 3 or 4.
Okay, anything else, Tom or Guy?
Nothing
If
else.
not,
I just make the amendment to move that from 5 to 3%.
are you making the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Lynn, did you get the motion? Yours. Okay. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Slotnick. Okay, we're under discussion. The chief wants to speak. Chief?
I just want to address the committee real quick. You know, this is a situation, I think it's a little different from just a normal reclassification. This is a situation where we essentially eliminated a job and took those full responsibilities, the 40-hour, probably a 50 or 60-hour position, and distributed all that workload on to 2 other positions. And so we're asking the the two people that remain, in essence, we went from 3 to 2. We're asking them to take on this drastically increased workload, which is underlined in your job descriptions there, and then going to pay them a couple of percent. I think that as proposed with the step here from 40 to 41, I think it's absolutely appropriate.
It's not just a couple percent, it's another step, and wherever they're at, it's a minimum of at least 3% more.
And I don't think that, in my perspective, I don't think that 3% is enough. We're asking them to take on, the city saved approximately $78,000 in this reorganization. We talked about this at the joint committee during the budget, and if I remember correctly, all four of you voted in favor of that. In fact, I think it was Alderman Duane that read the motion in and basically said that this was what was going to happen, and that was our proposal. We're asking
That was to save the 6 positions.
and to save the 4 positions, to eliminate one of our command staff members, and then to change the organization to make 2 assistant chiefs.
You know, the feeling, because everybody has a different reason about it,
Sure.
but some people felt 2 was enough, 1 for each side of town or whatever. And
Can I just respond to what
After
happened
Dwayne.
under the proposal that
Dwayne,
Zima has
it's going to be after
put
the chief,
forward?
then you, Tom.
Based on his proposal that they would get a minimum of 3%, Assistant Chief Knapp would still go to step 4. Under either proposal, that's where it would go. Assistant Chief Elliott, depending upon, I got to look at if we already moved him up. I'm not sure if he goes to step 2 or step 3. Because even under the current proposal, he would have only gone to step 3. He might only go to step 3 under this.
at 5%, what step does he go
That's
to?
what I want
Under
to
the
say.
5%, I think he went to step 3, and then he would move to step 4 in a year. Under this proposal, he might go to step 2 and then have to have an extra step in there.
Anything else, chief?
I just
Or-
want to make sure the committee recognizes the extraordinary effort that these guys are making to take on that other job and to distribute that workload. And I don't want to diminish, the great work that they're doing, and I just want to make that message. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Dwayne, do you have any
Yeah,
questions for the chief?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
okay. Yeah, when we discussed this at budget time, we thoroughly discussed what we were doing, what the steps were going to be, the workload that they were going to take on. I agree with Alderman Zima, after this position here, we do look at that 3%. I agree with following through. But when we did this, and we talked at length about what we're going to do, and I am going to vote today to vote for number 6 as it is, because this is what we talked about at length. This is what the council talked about. That doesn't mean we're going to give it to everybody. I mean, these guys went above and beyond, and this is what it was thoroughly discussed throughout the night, and I don't see why there's even a question on this. Chief Ness is going to stay no matter what happens here. He's going to continue to go where he should have been, and the other chief will be might lose a step, but in good faith, we agreed upon it, and so that's I just say we approve number 6 tonight as is, and then in the future we're going to bring it back next month, and for the rest of the as we go, and that's what I believe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Alderman Slotnick, then Zima.
I'll withdraw it. I don't have
Zima?
any questions.
Well, we had a distinct discussion. It seemed that there was some resonance amongst the committee here about doing just that, reducing it somewhat, because we felt it was inappropriate with the times. Now, if we're going to change it somewhere in the near future, why would these people be any less exempt from it? Why would we make them an exception at this point in time? I'm not questioning what's been done. I'm fully approved of it. I voted for it at the budget, and I'm here to support it here tonight. But if we're actually seriously going to discuss that, maybe we won't change it from 5%. But I think we should have that discussion first. So I don't know. I'm willing to hold this. I'm willing to make it retroactive to the first of the year whenever we do make the decision, but I think everybody ought to be treated alike on it. So, and in deference to you, Mr. Dwayne, I'm not opposed to give the 5% if that's what we're going to do for everybody. But if that's not what we're going to do for everybody, they should be treated exactly the same as anybody else. They're not being punished. They're getting a pretty sizable raise, and I think they're probably going to be doing about the same job they did before, in my opinion. So if you want, I'm willing to make a motion to hold this until we've had that discussion and made our final decision on it. Maybe we won't go to 3%, but at least that was our kind of our prejudice. I think when we did bring it up for discussion, at least like I said, there seemed to be some concurrence on the committee that and by our staff, which they've reinforced again. Lynn has said 3% is just fine. So if we're going to do it for one, then we do it for all of them. We don't just make an exception because today we're handing out a little more candy. So it's not Halloween right now. It's treating everybody alike. And under that standard, I feel we should, if you don't want to deal with this tonight, I'm okay with holding it and making it retroactive. But I think we should have that discussion first and make sure we treat everybody alike.
Okay. Alderman Dwayne, then Slotnick.
Yeah, I think we are treating them fair. Their job duties are elevated highly, and we're not going to give everybody 5%. We're looking at what their job duties are. We talked at it extensively. I thoroughly believe and agree with you. 3% is fine. This is all I'm saying is we looked at what their job duties were going to be. We looked at the cost savings, and we agreed to go ahead with this. And it's exactly like we discussed it. And we're not playing favoritism. They came with cost savings and with elevated job duties. And I say we hold this. We voted on it, and our conscience should be the same. I mean, I'm not favoring anybody. This is what we discussed for this position, this request, and 3% is fine. But when you make an agreement back in December and November, and then when it comes time, say, well, we don't like it, excuse us. I don't agree with that, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Is that it then?
Yeah, thank you.
Alderman Slotnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'd like to make sure that there really is an issue that we're even discussing this. I mean, clearly for one of these individuals, if the
Doesn't make
floor,
any difference.
if it's a minimum 3%, they're going to go to step 4 anyway, because they're currently at 88. And I don't know if the other individual would be affected by a change in the policy or not.
It appears that the other individual would be affected.
Okay?
It appears that he falls right in between that 3 and 5%. But I do want to say that up until now, we've always followed the 5% policy. So anybody up until now, if we were placing them on there, we would be following the 5% policy. So if we were to change it to 3%, it would be now going forward. So I'm just saying that in the past, people have been treated under the 5% policy. That's the policy that has been in effect. But the one other individual would be affected.
And I am favorably disposed toward changing the policy, but I want to separate issues here. One is dealing with this reclassification, and another is changing the floor for a policy that we administer on an ongoing basis.
Anything else, Tom?
No.
Okay. Guy?
Well, these are some of the higher paid positions in the pecking order, and I'm more disposed to cut slack to people who are closer to the bottom of the totem pole, because the cost of living, everything else is the same for everybody. But I think these are substantial increases. If it was 3%, what would be the increase for the individual? He obviously has less experience, less time. That's why he's somewhere lower in the step process. What exactly would it be? What is that person at right now? In the pay grade 40 category.
He's at 80. He would go to. It looks to me like he would go to step 3 to 89.69.
I'm asking where he's at right now.
currently at the division chief level, so he's not on the assistant chief salary schedule, so I need to look at what that comparison would be.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that? I just couldn't get what you're saying.
We're still paying him at the division chief level. We need to go look at where he would be at on the assistant chief schedule.
So there's two different positions in this person's.
Yeah, yes, because they've already taken away that classification. What I've got here is where he is at the division chief level. That's why I'm kind of hesitating. 'Cause
Don't you know what his pay rate is right now?
what his pay is right now?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What
As
is
a
that?
division chief, but he's actually serving as the assistant chief, and I need to look at what that comparable position would be if he had been placed as the assistant chief position. His current salary is at $82,720. $82,720.
And if 3%'s added, he would go to, it looks like pay step 3 then, huh? And if it's 5%, well, then it's 2, I guess. I guess it's a matter of whether it's going to be 2 or 3.
But
Looks like it's going to be a difference of whether they're at pay step 2 or 3 to whether you have 3 or 5.
Correct.
Maybe I'm figuring it wrong.
that's what I was, that's what I'm looking at too, so it's a difference of a step.
And so at 3%, the individual would be getting
The other thing I mentioned with this
About a
group, and I
$3,500
you know, we're
increase.
looking at the percentage differences here, and I know that you're trying to do something starting right now. We have made some changes in the way that we're compensating these individuals as well, which we don't do with other individuals at the lower level. And that is, we're also not going forward, they won't be getting holiday pay. And currently, they also receive holiday pay, so they're taking away some compensation from these individuals as well. So I think we need to look at that comparison as well. So currently, they receive holiday pay in lieu of
So at the new
holidays.
position, they will not get holiday pay?
Yes, they will no longer be receiving a holiday pay in these positions. So we are changing we're changing the way we're doing compensation.
I thought everybody got holidays. Is it no time and a half or something? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, they actually receive holiday pay. As opposed to a holiday, they actually receive holiday pay, compensation. They receive a lump sum pay,
It's more
payment
complex,
for
yeah.
holidays in the fire services. In this case, at those levels, at the assistant chief and fire chief level, they will no longer, the fire chief no longer receives that pay, and neither will these positions. So they'll be treated like other
Okay.
administrative
And
positions.
so these are positions that are a couple $100, $300 a day or something? And if they get knocked out of 9 holiday pays, that's,
Well,
or
they
7
were
holiday
receiving
pays.
them for all of them, but there is a couple $1,000 difference in holiday lump sum pay that they will no longer be receiving.
Taking that in consideration, then I will withdraw my motion.
Okay,
But I would like it brought up
certainly,
because I think it's something we have to address.
certainly.
So you're withdrawing your
Yeah, I'm
motion,
withdrawing my
So
motion.
let's move to approve then.
okay? Who made the motion to approve?
I did.
Okay, motion,
And Tom seconded.
okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. All right. We are at number 7. Request to consider contracting with Carlson Detman Consulting to conduct a classification and compensation study for all regular positions in the city, except for protective service positions and engineering positions previously studied. The cost of conducting the study is estimated to be $59,500 plus mileage and travel. Expenses not to exceed $3,000.
Move to approve.
There's a motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second? By Slavic, under discussion. Lynn, do you want to just give us an overview, or?
Well, this has been on the agenda
Right.
a number of times. As you know, we have not had a complete study done of all of our positions for 25 to 30 years. We have a number of requests to look at our classifications, and we really do need to look at a new methodology. And so we're making a recommendation to take a look at doing a study of our classifications and make a recommendation for a pay system for all our non-public safety positions.
Okay.
Now, we did talk last time about whether or not we would include the public works and the park maintenance positions. I have talked with both Director Grenier and Director Kramer, and we are recommending that we would include all the positions in the study. We'd like to gather the data, we can decide how we would do that from a compensation standpoint, because we do have some separate salary schedules with those groups, but at least we would have the information in that data. So we would recommend that we include those positions. They are included in the 170 job classifications that we're talking about in here, and we would recommend that we go forward to do this study.
Okay. Any questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays?
No.
Okay.
That passes.
I'm voting for it, so it's 3-1. Okay, moving on. 8, request to extend the contract with OST for a on-site physical therapist for 1 year with 4 one-year renewal options. Costs not to exceed $20,000/year. Funding to come up from a $10,000 CVMIC grant and $10,000 from the worker compensation budget.
Move to approve for discussion.
Okay, motion to approve by Dwayne, second by
Second.
Slotnick. Under discussion, Tom Dwayne.
Yeah, Lynn, do we have somebody on right now?
Yes, we are already doing this for a year. We're working with police and with fire, and we have an individual that's been working with both police and fire. We have a 1-year grant from CIVMIC, and
Yeah.
we're matching it with our workers' comp funds.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
Chief Lewis and my mind's blank. Chief Lynn, how's that working for you? I mean, is it this person?
I think so.
Yeah, the employees appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are taking advantage of it.
Good.
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, the individual, the group is bringing a lot of expertise in ergonomics, and we're really looking at how we do our jobs and
Yeah.
trying to prevent injuries, so I think it's been well received.
Yeah, I know at UPS, we used to have a lot of injuries, and we brought someone in like this, and training before we left the workforce in Deeren, and if they got in an accident, somehow they described how they did it, and so I'm just saying, from both experience and listening to some of the people that have used it, I agree with what this creates. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
They're really quite embedded in police. I don't know to what extent in fire. I've had more opportunities so far this year because we've only been working with it since September with police. And it's been very interesting to see what's starting to develop in that environment. I know they've been working over with fire as well. So I think it's a good opportunity for the city and for the employees. So with that, we recommend approval.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 9, request to approve out-of-state travel, Public Works, for employees to train in operation, maintenance, and repair of new tub grinder at Moore Company Training Facility in Wynn, Michigan, January 20 through 22, 2016.
Move to approve for discussion.
Or number 9A, Tom Dwayne wants to make a motion to approve with
Second.
discussion under, second by Slotnick, under discussion, Tom Dwayne.
Steve, can you just give me a little bit
No, I didn't see.
brief
So,
what they're working on?
We purchased a new tub grinder.
Right.
A large piece of equipment that takes the big tree sections and grinds those up into
Yeah.
compost. We purchased a new one in 2015. Included as part of the purchase, the vendor had a 3-day training course for 2 individuals.
That's all I'd ask.
What we're proposing to do is to send 4 individuals over, 3 mechanics and 1 operator, so that we have a good idea on making sure we can take care of the investment that we made.
At any given time, yeah.
$700,000 piece of equipment. Morbark has agreed to cover the cost of the registration and meals, so we would simply be required to cover the wages for the individuals while they're over there, their travel, which is going to be using a city vehicle, and the lodging for those individuals.
Thank you.
So it's a pretty minimal investment.
That's
Okay. Any other Alderman Zima?
What if we have a huge snowstorm during that period of time?
That's a
Well, Are
change.
these people essential for that operation?
They are mechanics, so we do have equipment breaking down.
I guess I'd approve for, but at the discretion of
That's,
the boss here, that if he
Actually-
only sends two if we have some kind of emergency going on.
if we think, matter of fact, and I have Chris Pirlo, Operations Director here, if we were to have a short-term weather forecast indicating that we believe a storm is imminent, we would probably contact Morbark to see if we could reschedule the training rather than send anyone.
And we actually did look at backup plans. They have another organized.
Well, you haven't trained me how to run the,
March.
you haven't trained me how to run the grader yet.
I haven't trained myself yet.
So,
But we have a backup plan.
if we were anticipating weather, I would not want to send anybody because
do we own a grader?
2 weeks ago, we had all hands on deck for 3 days.
Okay, so you've taken that into account already?
Yes,
Okay, very good then. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 4B, Public Works. Fleet manager to attend the National Waste Expo in Vegas, Nevada, June 6th through the 9th, 2016. Steve?
We do have a training and travel budget that's part of what we approved back in budget discussion. When we know that there's going to be automated travel, we will identify those. We also have sort of a line item for miscellaneous travel budget, or training and travel opportunities. That's part of the operations budget. Nathan was apprised of this solid waste expo. It's not something we had necessarily anticipated, but with our current automated trash and recycling process, obviously we want to keep hands on state-of-the-art with refuse collection and recycling collection. This is a very good conference. To do that, not only are there technical portions of the conference where we can learn what other municipalities and other jurisdictions are doing, but there's also a very large trade show where we get an opportunity to go out and take a look at the newest equipment, find out what the industry standards are. $950 investment. We have the money in our training and travel budget. Simply coming to talk to the committee about it because this would be out of state as opposed to in-state travel.
Okay. Any other, is there any questions from the committee? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll move to
I don't
approve.
believe so.
And this is all
Motion
part
by-
of, it's
hang
part of
on.
your budget, correct?
Yes, it is.
Motion by Dwayne to approve, second by Slotnick, under discussion. Guy Zima.
No, I just asked the question of what was budgeted for at
It is
budget
part
time.
of our budget that's already been approved again because it requires travel out of state. We are
Okay.
budgeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve C, D, and E because it really institutes what all different parts of what the parks do, and so it's not, they're not duplicating anything, so that's my motion.
Okay. Motion by Dwayne to approve 9, C, D, and E as in Edward. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Slotnick, under discussion. All in favor? Zima?
I don't know, historically, didn't we used to put what the money was on each of these?
We can find out
If
if
you
you want.
look at the details, there's no charge on this one. All costs reimbursed on this one.
Yep.
And airfare paid by employee, room and board, and cost of conference paid through all solid grants, so there's no money at stake.
I'm just saying historically, you used to have monies put kind of with each one, even if it was budgeted.
On the agenda,
It is on the agenda.
Yeah, but it's okay. All right, no
It
further
states it in the
questions.
back. He means it used to be right on the
All in
front.
favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 10, report of routine personnel actions for regular employees.
move to receive and place.
Motion to receive and place on file by Slotnick, second by
You know what it's on.
Dwayne. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Motion to adjourn by Sima. Second by Slotnick. Under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried.
Now you gotta go back.
Yep.
Under reconsideration, I think he did.